Welcome to this edition of Silver Sneakers Boom Muscle. Going to go through a generalized workout today. If you've been following me, you know I'm practicing for a powerlifting meet coming up in about a month, and with 5 weeks left to go. The advice I've been given is that you can not really do anything in this last month to improve your heavy lifts, but there's plenty you can do to sabotage them. So I'm cutting down on my frequency of heavy lifting, working on technique, and trying to minimize the risk of any injury while trying to improve overall fitness, cardiovascular fitness as well, and minimize other issues that develop with over-exercising. Start with a warm-up. I like to do some arm circles, starting off just at a low angle, maybe up to 45 degrees with my palms down. Even as we're warming up, we want to think about bringing our shoulder blades down together, opening up the rotator cuff. Let's rotate backwards. You can always progress by bringing your arms up closer to the horizontal. And let's bring the palms up, rotating forward. And backwards. Let's do some slow marching, warming up our lower body. Boom muscle is a moderate intensity exercise with some of our intervals getting into those higher levels. So you want to monitor your exertion level. You also want to have a towel and a source of water nearby. Let's put our feet out about shoulder width, 45-degree angle, and just do partial sumo squats, making sure our knees are tracking over our feet. You can always take this workout at your own pace, pause it, or skip sections. Do gentle side to side. Working on a little bit of balance. I want to lift one knee, try and balance. It's good to have a support like a chair or close to the wall in case you lose your balance. You can rotate your ankle. Start to warm up those joints. Other direction. And let's switch sides. Take your ankle. Direction. On balance exercise, it's important to contract your core muscles. Pay attention to both the posterior and anterior, which helps maintain balance. You can lift one leg, tap forward, side, back, forward, side, back, forward, side. And let's switch sides. Forward, side, back. The progression for that balance exercise is to tap across the front, side, and across the back, side. And one last on this side. And we can switch sides, across, side, behind. Might have have to bend that supporting leg a little bit. Progression is to always just take this slower. And last one. If during these exercises you never lose balance, you want to progress that to challenge your system, you can always do that by closing your eyes, holding the position where your foot is up in the air for longer, and bending the supporting knee even more.
Studies have shown that static stretching before exercise is actually detrimental. However, dynamic stretching, which is where you're putting your joints through a range of motion but not holding them in that stretched position, or foam rolling, which is myofascial self-release, self-myofascial release, whatever, is beneficial before starting your big workout. So using a foam roller, I like to roll out my calves, which over the course of 7 decades have developed quite a bit of scar tissue, doing both side-to-side rolling, particularly over somewhat tender points, and front and back rolling. Both of that to loosen up the tissues. Maybe it is improving circulation, reducing edema. Some experts recommend foam rolling once or twice a week, probably not every day, as that might have a tendency to weaken the muscles, at least from studies done on rabbits. You can use the foam roller to roll out your hamstrings. You can sit on it. Cross one leg over, side to side. You'll feel these in your glutes. What I'm looking for are areas of tenderness where if I find those, spend a little more time on the foam roller on those. If I don't find any, I move on pretty quickly. You can roll out your lower back. So I've got the bar, the roller right under my lumbar spine. Lift up and roll. Rotating side to side. Switching to the front. Roll out my quadriceps. And you can roll down and do your shins as well. Again, if I am not finding particularly tender areas, don't spend a whole lot of time on this. Again, just part of my generalized warm-up. You can roll out your upper body as well. Again, each person a preference.
Before moving on, I wanted to talk about a couple things. In my medical news reports, apparently there's an epidemic of Achilles tendon injury in seniors, particularly playing pickleball. Achilles tendon, located on the back of your calf, attaching your calf muscles to your heel, is particularly prone to overuse injury, tendonitis, which can weaken the tendon and eventually lead to rupture. A lot of people, runners, pickleball players, will ignore the tendonitis phase, which requires recovery, increased stretching, foam rolling to try and overcome that, but leading to a tendon rupture, which can have months of involved in healing, usually requires surgery to reattach it, and you'll see this even in young professional athletes whose careers depend on keeping that Achilles tendon intact. Again, it's involved in every sort of plyometric move, jumping, running, the quick start in pickleball. So I've had Achilles tendonitis. I fortunately never had a rupture of my Achilles tendon. So as I am progressing in my senior years, I'm particularly careful with the Achilles tendon, so I don't do a whole lot of prolonged cardiovascular exercise, preferring to do intervals, but also recognizing that a quick explosive start to an interval can be damaging. The other injury you'll sometimes see is a hamstring pull. Same thing, hamstring is on the upper leg behind the femur, and particularly sensitive to explosive plyometric or explosive power starts. So to protect that, again, you have to modify your activities, sometimes using the foam rolling, other physical therapy techniques for stretching, reducing inflammation, but a lot of times it comes to avoiding the activity that brought it on in the first place. So again, it can be quite a serious injury. As you know, if you've been following me for a few months, I've transitioned to powerlifting, which I think is an ideal exercise format for seniors, involved by trying to increase your strength. That's improving muscle mass, trying to counteract our progressive sarcopenia or age-related loss of muscle. One aspect of powerlifting, I attended a meet the other day and was struck by nice and calm, kind of like what I do for my workout during the lead up to the event. But once the event started, it goes into this entire frantic mode. Everything's moving very quickly. There's loud music, not music I really care for, and the pace between lifters coming out, changing the weights, the next person coming out, all I thought was quite disturbing. If you saw the Kentucky Derby, you saw a horse who reacted to the enormous crowd, the noise, a horse that had been trained to get into the gates, sort of freaked out, reared up, the jockey fell off, the horse even fell backwards. I get the same feeling that I bet that's how I would react in a powerlift meet to all that unexpected environment. So as far as my training, since I am going to participate in a meet in about a month, I thought for my music, I'd turn on loud music I don't really care for, acid rock or something like that. Try and, even despite every distraction, be able to go through my mental preparation before the lift, trying to remember all the different things I need to, and perform the lift properly, again, basically ignoring the distractions of the event. Another thing I wanted to talk about was lifting belts. Most people who lift heavy weights wear a belt, and some people consider it a crutch, but in reality, it's a very useful device that helps you brace properly, which protects your back and allows your body to lift these heavier weights. There's several designs. Some are, this is a cloth one. It's 4 inches across, quite flexible, pretty comfortable to wear. I think it's about 4 millimeters thick. This is a leather, which again is 4 inches, but 7 millimeters thick. This one has buckle. Some of them will have a clasp. A lot of people prefer the clasp because you can have these much finer adjustments. When you put on the belt, around your waist, you don't want to put it on too tight. You want to have a little bit of flexibility or a little bit of slack in there, because the idea is the belt helps you brace, which is you inhale, completely fill your lungs, allow your abdomen to come out, and put that tension coming from your core against the belt. So it allows you to know when you brace properly. That bracing is critically important in these heavy lifts to avoid injuring your back or causing other problems. So that's why it's good to get used to wearing a belt when you do these lifts, particularly one of these thicker ones. So if I attach it, still have a little bit of slack in there, and then I'll just do my box squat, practicing bracing. Takes a bit of practice to get used to wearing the belt. I find with a deep squat, as it rises up, it's kind of uncomfortable. So I practice on a low bench to do a low box squat with the wooden bar behind, and practice this. The reason going primarily to do this is to practice that bracing. Inhale deeply, push against the belt, and then hold it while you do your deep squat, and up. You can either hold your brace and breath for the duration of the lift, or exhale as you are rising up. With the deadlift, you want to hold your breath while you're rising up, and you can exhale at the top as you're coming down. And bench press, hold it until you've completed the rep. Now, by holding your breath, that can raise your blood pressure. So you want to check with your medical provider, make sure that your blood pressure is adequately controlled before you attempt this sort of bracing activity. Heavy lifts themselves can raise your blood pressure significantly. So again, make sure you get medical clearance before moving into extremely heavy lifts. Personally, I like to put on the belt only when I'm pushing into those heavier weights. I like to practice without the belt for my warm-ups and sort of my preliminary sets. So next I'm going to grab a dumbbell and do some bench goblet squats. So for this one, I hold the weight on my mid-chest, my feet at my nice feet outward, a little bit beyond shoulder width, and then inhale, brace, down to the bench. You can always modify this by using a lighter weight or just body weight. Sitting on the bench itself gives you a little break, and then coming up. Progression is to just touch the bench. Another thing I noticed in this powerlifting meet is that the judges were particularly sensitive to the depth of the squat. If it didn't meet their expectations, they just didn't count the lift. So it's worthwhile, if you're participating in this activity, to try and get that squat deep enough to where your thigh is parallel to the floor, or the crease in your hip is at or below knee level. So I'm working progressively on lower boxes, try and get a feel to where I can get that neuromuscular connection as to how deep to go. Since I have lack of flexibility in my knees, my ankles, and my hips, it doesn't matter how much weight I can move. If I can't get to that depth, it won't count. So as far as practicing, lifting a squat with less than that level certainly is beneficial. But for competing in this activity, which is one of my goals, it's quite important. So with this much lower box, let's say I sit down on it, looking in the video, this seems to be the depth I need to aim for. So let's try that with just a body weight touch. And out. Important to brace through the whole thing. Don't allow your pelvis to tip at the very bottom. It's called aim a wink. One more. You also want to avoid letting your knees either collapse in or out, trying to keep them strongly right over your feet. Moving on to my warm-up for chest bench press. Just going to do some incline push-ups. Very important on the push-up, again, to brace your whole core, keep it nice and solid. I find the best way for me to do a push-up is to do a slow descent and then a powerful, explosive push off of the platform. While I'm doing this, I mentally think of the components of the bench press that are important. Again, bracing with my breath, retracting and lowering my shoulder blades, tightening the muscles in my shoulders, triceps, biceps, bringing the weight down, pausing as I'm at that where the bench platform is touching my chest, and then pushing explosively to a full extension. I don't work on a lot of repetitions, even for my warm-up, somewhere around 5 to 10 or so. The other things, continuing our discussion of Achilles tendonitis, is your arms and shoulders are quite susceptible to tendonitis as well. We have our golfer's elbow, or no, tennis elbow, golfer's elbow on the inside. You can get rotator cuff tendonitis or injuries. And even in the chest, you can get tendonitis where the pec's attached to the upper arm. In my history, I've ruptured one of those this side that never healed, so I've lost part of the muscles that are in my pectoral muscle. And other things you want to remember is try and keep your head neutral, looking ahead, but don't flex or extend the head. And again, keeping your core, all that well braced. The requirements for the bench press in competition are that you hold the bar unracked until the referee tells you to start, where you lower it to touching your chest or upper abdomen. Pause there. You have to keep your contraction, otherwise you'll lose it, until the referee says press. Then you bring it back up to full arm extension and wait for the instruction to rack. As I discussed earlier, if you have all this cacophony going on, noise, anxiety, it's easy to forget those instructions. If you miss any of them, the lift doesn't count. You can't descend once you've started the press, so you can't go up and partially come down, like to bounce off the chest, would not be allowed. Successful bench press requires that you contract every muscle in your body. As Mr. Schuler said, was any weak or uncontracted muscle is like an escape valve for energy, and you won't be able to press as much. Drive your feet, balls and heels into the floor. You can give a slight arch to your lower back, but you want to keep your buttocks and your shoulders on the bench, and try and move the weight as quickly as you can, which gives you the most power once you've been given the instruction to press. So as I was doing that lift, I'm in my head thinking of all the instructions and the directions from the referee, so that it's clear that what I'm doing, that's where my focus is, even though it's quiet during the video. Moving up in the weight, one of the reasons I do these videos is there's a bit of stress or pressure while recording a video, either time or just the idea of being permanently recorded. Again, the idea is to try and increase my anxiety level, but still maintain all these other aspects of the lift when I'm going through it. I've come to believe there's a lot of psychological aspects to powerlifting. One of them is gaining confidence. So as I moved up to a 45-pound plate on each end, this has been my previous limit on the barbell. Worrying, as if it's too heavy, am I going to get trapped underneath it? So I have the safety bar set to where if I were to exhale completely, if I have to drop the weight to those, can't move it, I can roll it down to the end, I can exhale and climb out from underneath it, so that is a safety factor. The other thing is I've put on my ear plugs, earplugs, my music plugs, and turned on some ZZ Top, which I don't hate, but has that same feel for the cacophony of the meat. So have it pretty loud, so it interferes with my ability to think and get my neuromuscular connection as a practice of to overcome that, ignore it, focus on what I'm doing, and ignore the other activity. The final thing is there's a lot of people watching these meets and getting used to lifting in front of a lot of people who might be somewhat critical or thinking, why does such a big guy only lifting 135 pounds? Again, another factor to overcome as you get into this activity. So with that, I didn't let it pause on my chest long enough, but at least got through the 2 lifts successfully otherwise. So that's my workout for this video. I'll finish up with some modest activity. I'm going to be building a retaining wall today, so that'll act as my slow cardio, a little bit of resistance as I'm lifting modestly heavy things. I hope you enjoyed this video and progress over the next month, getting ready for my first powerlifting event, and I'll keep you informed as how that goes.